Glitter and Grappling Hooks by Honya's Bookshelf. Read by My Lost and Found. Summary. "Hello?" Steph called out, stepping in the door and taking in the cheap bunk bed, desk, and dresser that made up the sparsely furnished college dorm room. There was a door off to the side that likely led to a bathroom.
Hi! You must be the new roomie. Nice to meet you. I'm Mabel. That's Dipper.
The torrent of words came from a girl balanced on the frame of a bunk bed and sticking glow-in-the-dark stars to the ceiling. The girl leaned back, wobbling dangerously, to wave enthusiastically at Steph. "What have I gotten myself into?" Steph thought to herself, stepping forward in case she needed to catch the girl. Mabel righted herself and beamed triumphantly. Steph met her eyes and felt a glimmer of kinship, the beginnings of a smile forming at the corners of her own lips. It's the first day of Steph's freshman year, and her college roommate, Mabel Pines, is unexpected. Maybe even in a good way. This fic is about 2,100 words and 1 chapter. It is rated general audiences, and no archive warnings apply. This podfic was recorded for Voice Team 2026 for the challenge Snoozeworthy. As always, link to the fic is in the description, and on with the story. The echoes of laughter and excited squeals fill the hallway as Steph wandered around, pulling her suitcase behind her and searching for her room number. It was hard to believe that she was actually here, so far from Gotham and the life she'd known for so many years. Shockingly, it was thanks to Jason that she'd made it this far, all the way to Oregon, ready to begin her freshman year of college, major undecided. Honestly, it was totally rude playing the "I really regret missing out on college because I died first" card. She'd be more pissed about it if she didn't think he was pushing her because he actually cared for her well-being and future, which, weird. She was actually looking forward to the whole college experience, even if she was going to miss the life in Gotham like crazy, stupid as that sounded. And she was going to miss Cass even more, no matter how many phone calls and weekend visits they managed. She felt guilty about leaving everyone else to deal with the particular brand of awful that Gotham so frequently dealt out. Not that everyone hadn't already given her a good talking to about living her own life and doing things that mattered to her, too. Shockingly, it had felt like they meant it. Even Bruce, whose life was so deeply interwoven with his identity as Batman, that she couldn't imagine him without it. She did wonder, a bit, if they were living vicariously through her, experiencing the things they'd missed out on in their youth. Whatever the case, here she was, feeling alone and completely out of her depth in a way she seldom felt. Suit buried at the bottom of her suitcase, about to meet her new roommate and hoping desperately that they'd get along. Here was her room.
Found it,
she sang out, ignoring the odd look that another girl walking by gave her. She turned the key in the lock. Just as she swung the door open, a particularly loud and silly-sounding guffaw burst forth from the room.
"Hello?"
she called out, stepping in the door and taking in the cheap bunk bed, desk, and dresser that made up the sparsely furnished college dorm room. There was a door off to the side that likely led to a bathroom.
Hi! You must be the new roomie. Nice to meet you. I'm Mabel. That's Dipper.
The torrent of words came from a girl balanced on the frame of the bunk bed and sticking glow-in-the-dark stars to the ceiling. The girl leaned back, wobbling dangerously, to wave enthusiastically at Steph. "What have I gotten myself into?" Steph thought to herself, stepping forward in case she needed to catch the girl. Mabel righted herself and beamed triumphantly. Steph met her eyes and felt a glimmer of kinship, the beginnings of a smile forming at the corners of her own lips. Aloud, she said, "I'm Steph. Hi." She took in the fluffy, oversized sweater, garishly pink and featuring a sledding panda, that the girl was wearing despite the September heat. Steph stepped further into the room and jumped when she saw a pair of legs jutting out from beneath the bunk bed. What? The girl did a flip off the end of the bed, her poofy brown hair flying as she nearly, but not quite, ran into the dresser. Okay. Steph was a little impressed, her sense of kinship with this strange girl growing as her unease dissipated despite the oddness of their encounter so far.
It's okay, silly. That's my brother, Dipper,
Mabel said. Hi, a guy's voice said from beneath the bed, and a hand holding a piece of chalk briefly flashed out to wave.
Oh, cool. Hey, so, what exactly are you doing under the bed?
Steph asked, not bothering to point out that this was a girls-only dorm. She was sure he wasn't the only guy who'd been snuck in today. Inscribing a warding circle? Dipper said frankly. Steph did a double take, examining Mabel more carefully. Oh. Beneath the bubbly smile and the bouncing brown hair and the absurd clothes, she saw, when she looked closely enough, someone who had seen things. In an instant, her perspective changed just that little bit, and she saw her new roommate through fresh eyes. Bruce would be so disappointed that she hadn't caught on right away. Tim would think it was hilarious that she traveled this far from Gotham only to wind up rooming with someone tied to something. Can I see? She asked, moving closer to the bunks.
Sure,
Mabel sung out, picking up a piece of paper from their shared desk and passing it over to Steph. There was a warding circle inscribed on it. Steph looked it over. It was good. Concerning in its contents, but competent. Why exactly are you warding against demons? She asked carefully, watching Mabel closely. From under the bed, there was a clank as Dipper's something hit the bed above him. Probably his head. Steph winced sympathetically. The guy wriggled out from under the bunks, and Steph found herself looking at a mirror version of Mabel. Male and serious to her female and bubbly, but otherwise nearly identical. Twins, huh? Steph shook her head. So not the point right now. You can read this? The guy asked, staring her down with a suspicious expression.
Passably. Magic circles, magic in general, honestly, that's more my friend's thing than mine,
she admitted, being sure to keep names out of it. She didn't know exactly who these two were or where they stood yet.
Enough to tell it's powerful magic. So, again, I ask, why ward against demons specifically?
Why do you know how to read warding circles against demons? Dipper countered, crossing his arms and getting a streak of chalk on his shirt in the process. Steph raised her eyebrow, weighing how much she could afford to tell these two. I'm from Gotham, she said finally. If they had as much of a clue as it seemed they did, that would be answer enough.
Oh!
Mabel said with an excited look, elbowing Dipper in the ribs.
She's from Gotham! You should ask her. Dipper's getting ready to go to Gotham for school himself.
Why? Steph asked in bafflement. What kind of idiot intentionally went to Gotham? Dipper stared her down for a long moment, and Steph stared right back, feeling as though she was being tested. Apparently, she passed. He gave her a nod and began to explain, going into what felt a lot like Tim's lecture mode. You're from Gotham. I'm certain that you're aware that something is very wrong there. You used it as an explanation for why you know about wards. I suspect there's some sort of curse involved. That said, I know a lot about curses and general weird stuff. We've both been dealing with it since we were just kids. I want to figure out what's going on in Gotham. Maybe I can help. Mabel nodded along as Dipper spoke, fiddling with her hair as she did so. Huh. Okay, Steph said after a long moment. I'm guessing this
dealing with it since you were kids thing is where the demons come in. Yeah, it's a long story, Mabel said, looking less than absolutely bonkers happy for the first time since Steph had walked into the room. Her eyes shifted away from Steph's. I'll tell you, maybe, sometime. We had a bad experience with a demon. Once. Dipper cut in, patting Mabel on the shoulder. His eyes looked haunted for a brief moment, before taking on a fiery determination. Oh, right, Steph said weakly, not sure what else to say. It never got easier, knowing how to help survivors, especially when you couldn't really understand what they'd been through. She'd already decided that she'd do all she could to support her new roommate, though. Hey, it's okay. Dipper's the best at making wards, Mabel said, bouncing right back to what Steph was already figuring out was her default 110% energy. Steph nodded, and Dipper seemed to take that as acceptance, squeezing Mabel's shoulder once more, then burrowing back under the bed to complete his design. Meanwhile, Steph looked around the room, taking in the shared space that was already filled with glitter and rhinestones and... Was that a grappling hook? A pile of rope lay coiled by the window. Wait. Did you sneak your brother in through the window? Steph asked. Well, yeah, Mabel confirmed. I mean, I was all for dressing him up like my sister. He totally rocks a wig. Never again, Mabel. But he was too embarrassed for that. Mabel continued as though Dipper hadn't interjected. He decided on the window. See? It's step 3 on his list for today. She pointed at a folded piece of paper on the desk that, Steph realized upon looking at it, must be enormous when unfolded completely. This is the 3rd floor, Steph said weakly. Sure, that was a feat that Dick could complete in his sleep. All the bats could manage it if they tried. But for 2 college kids who looked not exactly athletic, well, she was going to have to reevaluate these 2 again. Not only had they seen things, but they had emerged on the other side impressively competent. Steph had so many questions. But for now, she shrugged and moved on to the dresser to begin unloading her bag. I know, right? Mabel crowed. Dipper kept going on and on about making sure the rope was long enough to reach. It doesn't do any good if it only reaches halfway, Mabel, Dipper's voice said from under the bed. Yeah. You try sneaking 30 feet of rope into a girl's dorm. Mabel fake grumbled in what was obviously a well-worn sibling routine. Steph could relate. That was how she usually was with Jason, after all. With all of Bruce's brood, really. Cass accepted. Gosh, Steph's girlfriend was going to crack up when she heard Steph had ended up with Mabel, the bedazzled warrior, as a roommate. Tim would probably say it served her right for all the madness she dragged him into. Really limits the space in your suitcase when you have to carry that much, Steph sympathized. Exactly, Mabel beamed. See, bro, she understands. I understand, Mabel. I just don't have a way to magically fix it. We don't have an extra-dimensional bag. You know this. One of these days, though. Mabel sighed longingly, clasping her hands together. Steph continued to put her stuff in the dresser drawers, not bothering to hide the multiple knives or the utility belt that she dug out and buried under her clothes. She still kept her suit hidden in the bottom of her suitcase, though. Honestly, she liked her new roommate, but her secret identity wasn't just her secret. Given time, maybe she could let Mabel in on the bat's secret, but for now, not so much. Ooh, shiny, Mabel breathed, standing at Steph's shoulder and staring at the knives with glowing eyes. May I? Steph nodded, stepping back. Just don't cut yourself. They're really sharp, she warned. Mabel picked up a knife, weighing its heft
asked, as though she knew what she was doing. Steph stared, thoroughly impressed, as the girl went through a series of knife drills, her movements as poetically smooth as she'd seemed gawky and uncoordinated before.
Wow, color me impressed,
Steph breathed. Mabel met her eyes with a grin and returned the knife to its sheath, laying it back with the others.
Very nice,
Mabel said approvingly.
We should spar sometime. But first, new friendship ice cream. Huh? I like you. I think we're going to get along just fine. So, we should get ice cream in the comms and check out all the cute college boys.
Mabel grinned, linking her arm through Steph's.
I don't know if my girlfriend would approve of that last part, but I wouldn't mind being your wing woman,
Steph allowed.
But what about your brother? Oh, he'll meet us there when he's done. Right, Dipper?
Sure thing. I'll shut the window when I leave, Dipper said in a still muffled voice from beneath the bed.
Okay,
Steph agreed, stowing any incriminating belongings before allowing Mabel to drag her enthusiastically from the room. As they walked down the hall, she realized that the case of nerves she'd been nursing when she arrived had dissipated. This was actually going to be okay. Maybe, against all odds, Jason was right.
So, roomie, she asked with a smile, what's your take on appropriate ice cream toppings? 'Cause I've got opinions.
She knew it had been the right question to ask when Mabel's face lit up even more than before, and the girl went off on an impossible-to-follow, yet surprisingly amusing, rant about marshmallows and leprechauns? Heck, yeah. This was going to be an interesting semester. Maybe even a good one. And that is all for this PODFIC. I love this fic. I have not seen anything like it, but I completely agree with the author's notes. Steph and Mabel do fun dynamic, absolutely guaranteed. And yeah, I would love to also see Tim and Dipper interacting, because yeah, I feel like this is great. This is just so much potential, and I don't think I've ever seen an actual fic exploring like this kind of thing. So this was a lovely taste at just like potential, and got my brain like running around in circles in the best possible way. It is so fun. I really, really like this fic. And yeah, if you're somewhere you can see the cover art, I did do art for this fic, and I think it actually turned out pretty well. That's how much I love this fic. I was like, art, gotta do an art. But yeah, that was fun, and I like the way it turned out, and I really like this fic. You can't already tell by the amount of times I've said it. But yeah, like I said at the beginning, this podfic was recorded for Voice Team 2026 for the challenge Snoozeworthy, which entails setting a goal number of hours to sleep each night and creating an audio fan work made solely on that day after you did your best effort to hit the goal amount of sleep the night before. And it is summer. I do not have school, so I am free to always hit my goal amount of sleep, which is, I think, yeah, it's 7 hours currently is what I probably should be getting 8, but I take 20-minute naps during the day, approximately 20 minutes. I love them. Naps are amazing. But so goal is 7 hours at night plus 20-ish minute nap in the day. That's okay. Maybe I should be getting 8 hours. We'll see. But for now, goal is 7 hours, and I hit it. So I bring to you this lovely podfic, and I am well rested. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this podfic. Again, this fic was so good. If you guys enjoyed, go to the original. Go leave a kudos, go leave a comment, whatever you can. I am sure the original author appreciates it. Anyway, that is all for this time. I will see you guys next time.